Here is the exact text you provided. Criminal investigations can be dynamic, and the way events unfold and evidence is revealed can be unpredictable. Players in a criminal event may be revealed as suspects at different stages of the investigation. Interviewing, questioning, and interrogating are terms that refer to separate stages in the process of gathering verbal responses from a suspect or a possible suspect. But each stage is different in relation to when and how the information gathering process can and should occur. The differences between these three stages need to be defined in the mind of the investigator, since they will move through a process of first interviewing, then questioning, and finally interrogating a suspect. When this progression occurs, the investigator needs to recognize the changing conditions and take the appropriate actions at the correct junctures to ensure that, if a confession is obtained, it will be admissible at trial. Interviewing technique of investigation. Investigative interviewing is an essential aspect of the investigative process for patrol officers, detectives, or other investigators. As most information comes from people, it is necessary to have knowledge and proficiency in interviewing. Salient features of interviewing technique. 1. An interview is a conversation intended to elicit information, making interviewing an information gathering technique. 2. Interviews are generally non-accusatory. 3. During the course of an investigation, the investigator will conduct interviews with all available witnesses and potential suspects. 4. The investigator should ask open-ended questions in an attempt to elicit as much information as possible. 5. The interview subject should do most 75% of the talking during the conversation. 6. If, during the interview, it is found that the subject has lied, the investigator should generally not confront the subject. In most cases, it is best to challenge a lie during a follow-up interview or once the interviewer has transitioned into an interrogation. 7. The interview method has the goal of fact-finding rather than obtaining a confession, with an emphasis on the use of open-ended questions, and investigators are expressly prohibited from deceiving suspects. Critical analysis of interviewing technique. Interviewing a possible suspect is the first stage and the lowest level of interaction. In fact, the person is not even definable as a suspect at this point. Suspects often report criminal events while posing as witnesses or even victims of the crime. The investigator receiving a statement or report from such a person may become suspicious that they are not being truthful. There is a unique opportunity at that point to gather the poser's version of events, including any untrue statements that may afford an opportunity to later investigate and demonstrate possible fabrication, which is by itself a criminal offense. The transition point for an investigator to move from interviewing a witness or possible suspect to detaining and questioning the person as a suspect should occur when real evidence is discovered, giving the investigator reasonable grounds to suspect that the person is involved in the event. Discovering real evidence and gaining reasonable grounds creates an obligation for the investigator to stop interviewing the person who then becomes a suspect. Then the next phase of investigation starts. Questioning a suspect is the next level of interaction. For a suspect to be questioned, there will be some type of circumstantial evidence that allows the investigator to detain that suspect. The suspect's right to not talk does not preclude the investigator from asking questions, and the investigator should continue to offer the suspect an opportunity to disclose information that may be exculpatory and enable the investigator to eliminate that person as a suspect in the crime being investigated. Let me know if you need any further assistance.